Okay. We're live once more. Okay, Rupa Manjari, can you do it one more time, please? This
Sure.
reading. Okay, 1 second. Let me share the screen.
Do you have anybody else on our lines?
Yes, we have Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thanks for the clarification. I hope you can tolerate me once again. I have another question for which I need some clarification. Apart from the May 28th conversation and the July 9th letter, is there any other source of evidence that suggests that Srila Prabhupada would like future initiation to be conducted in ISKCON when he is no longer with us? If there are other evidences, please guide us. Thank you. According to Narayan Prabhu, those who took initiation from Srila Prabhupada by Ritvik are not wrong but misguided. With due respect, I would be grateful if he can clarify that position. I hope Narayan Prabhu, the other devotees on the panel, and yourself would be patient with me or any other person with regard to these questions.
Okay. Narayan Prabhu, do you want to say anything before we go to your writings that you posted?
Oh, not really. It's just that when a person makes such a direct request, I like to make a very direct answer, and an answer which will help him and help anybody else who's reading as well. That's the basic idea.
Okay, so let me share Narayan Prabhu's writing and then we'll discuss and then we'll come back to his question. In the meantime, if anything comes up, we will discuss that also. So let me load Narayan Prabhu's response. Okay.
And I would like to say, having Rupa Manjari reading is such a clarification. It makes it seem like a reality instead of a theory, you know?
Yes.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see here.
Why is the host so?
Okay, let's see. 1 second, let me load up the responses. Come on, what's going on here? Okay.
Is it going okay?
Yeah, just 1 second. I'm just copying the whole writing. It's a lot of writing, or at least it seems like it, in a small box. Okay, there we go. I have it here. 1 second. Compose. Okay. I sent it. Response to question. Okay. There we go. Just give me 1 more minute. I'll have it up here.
Sure, no, we're with you.
All right. Here.
Take your time, partner. Take your time.
Yeah, time I am. Okay. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Response to. Okay, here we go. Rupa, whenever you're ready, Prabhu.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada was basically hounded by his leading disciples as to who he would choose as acharya to succeed him. Every time he was asked, he would divert the question into how anyone could be guru who taught anyone to chant the Mahamantra. He specifically did not even hint as to who he would choose to be his successor. And even when the artificial construct of the July 9th letter with the ridiculous inclusion of Narayan Maharaj's preposterous use of the term Ritvik instead of Srila Prabhupada's term officiating acharyas. All that resulted from that ridiculous July 9 letter authored by Tamal was that 11 men, many of whom were consistently breaking the regulative principles, were projected by that preposterous letter quickly into the realm of Uttama Adhikari Diksha gurus, facilitated by the easily fooled Sridhar Swami, who had already practically destroyed the Gaudiya Math by installing the homosexual Ananta Vasudeva as the Uttama Adhikari Acharya of the Gaudiya Math, with the result that Ananta's wife killed their son. Then she committed suicide. And seeing this mess, Ananta Vasudeva also committed suicide. So this was the person that Srila Prabhupada sent the 11 disciples of his who had poisoned him to death in order to fulfill their perverted desires to become successor gurus to Srila Prabhupada.
Okay. And here's another one.
Those who are dead set to follow the Ritvik order created by Tamal, not Srila Prabhupada, would be better off knowing that officiating acharyas had been used to initiation the majority of Srila Prabhupada's ever-growing number of disciples, starting around 1970, not 1977. Srila Prabhupada used the term officiating acharyas in the May 28th tape and used the term officiating acharyas again in Tamal's July 9th letter. So officiating acharya is Srila Prabhupada's term, and as his disciple, I choose to adhere to his choice of terms rather than Tamal's choice of terms. Although the term Ritvik appears in the translation of the Sanskrit translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam 31 times, Srila Prabhupada does not use the term Ritvik even once in his translation and purports. This clearly indicates that Ritvik was introduced by Tamal on May 28th, as well as in Tamal's July 9th letter, where he demands that the obscure term Ritvik be used instead of Srila Prabhupada's term of officiating acharyas. We have already clearly established that the July 9th letter was clearly authored by Tamal, who referred to the letter at later dates as a letter written by himself. Whoever calls himself a Ritvik is clearly a follower of Tamal, not Srila Prabhupada, who did not want to use the term Ritvik either in any of his books, nor in the conversation begun on May 28th and ending on July 11th.
If
Can
I
you
may
read
say,
now?
no,
Yes,
no,
I can read.
No, your Rupa, your reading is excellent.
Yes,
do you
I
mind?
wanted to say something. No, Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to say something that I may have lost it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The last phrase in the previous.
Whoever considers himself a Ritvik is
Yeah.
clearly a follower of Tamal, not Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, well, we went through there's 31 uses of the word Ritvik, and interestingly, each and every one of them is in the Sanskrit, and that's
Yes.
for a few. Then the word Ritvik is changed into what is a Ritvikar or Ritvikvan?
Yes, there's variations of the term. So
But
yeah.
in not even one case, not even one instance, did Srila Prabhupada take the word Ritvik and put it after the translation. I mean, you have the original Sanskrit words, Ritvik appears, or Ritvikam, or Ritvik something other, a whole bunch of Ritvik type words, not specifically Ritvik. And in all of those words, Srila Prabhupada, in all of those words, Srila Prabhupada has them there in the translation, not the translation, but in the original Sanskrit iteration, that when it comes to the translation, he leaves it out. He doesn't have anything in the word Ritvik in the translation or the purport. So
Yes.
people will say, oh, Prabhupada used it. Prabhupada, it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They're whistling Dixie because there is no such example of Prabhupada using the word Ritvik the way Tamal used the word Ritvik to denote something very specific. But there is that there is that element of use of the word Ritvik. When Narayan Maharaj wrote his book, he claimed to be the Ritvik that initiated Prabhupada. So Ritvik is very pronounced there, as it is not pronounced anywhere else in Prabhupada's writing. Okay.
Okay, so here, a direct answer to your first question regarding how devotees were to be initiated after he was gone can be understood in the fact that he did not name a single successor, nor did he establish a process of ongoing initiations. The only conclusion that we can draw is that Srila Prabhupada intended for us to continue to take initiation from him via officiating acharyas, as he is and will be the only Uttama Adhikari initiating acharya for the next 10,000 years. In the Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, it clearly stated that only an Uttama Adhikari can become a spiritual master of any aspiring disciples. That should not be difficult to see. Okay? Yeah, that Nectar of Instruction, verse 5 is very clear. The last paragraph on who can be a spiritual master. Prabhupada says one should not become a spiritual master unless he is an Uttama Adhikari.
Yeah. Does Rupa want to read a little more?
Sure.
Okay.
You say when he is no longer with us, are you sure that he is no longer with us? As to your second...
That's he is saying when he is no longer with us. And I'm questioning, are you sure that he's no longer with us?
Yeah, I got that.
Yes.
As to your second question, those who took initiation of Srila Prabhupada via Ritvik gurus can certainly be considered to be bona fide disciples of Srila Prabhupada. For them to be running around calling themselves Ritviks is a ridiculous waste of time. They are disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and the spiky Ritvik designation is completely unnecessary. It is much simpler and less Tamal-centric to accept that they are post-1970 disciples of Srila Prabhupada by initiation by the officiating acharyas established by Srila Prabhupada. Ritvik is a term introduced by Tamal via Narayan Maharaj and was introduced to distance devotees from Srila Prabhupada and bring them closer to Narayan Maharaj. Note,
Okay.
do not hesitate to boldly and strongly ask questions or make statements in the context of Istigosi. You are eternal spirit soul, as are we. Be bold, use common sense, be fearless, and state your views openly and strongly. That is the path of spiritual advancement.
Right, okay. Excellent. So let me go back to the responses here. So I would like to ask a question here. If Srila Prabhupada has written the books and he has given the directions on how to progress in devotional service by following the regulated principles, and then if one follows it and then listens to Srila Prabhupada's classes, conversations, isn't he already a disciple? Meaning that he follows the program, the discipline that is given by Srila Prabhupada.
Essentially, a person is a disciple, but when you come down to the point of Diksha, you want to take an initiation by which the spiritual master accepts you as a disciple. If I can go to the Prabhupada and listen to him on the radio or on a tape recording, he's my spiritual master, and he is. That establishes it as his spiritual master. But you want the reciprocation of being accepted. And that's what, and remember, when you have somebody doing the officiating guru, acharyas, when they initiate you, that gives you a sense of being initiated. Then the next step is to be initiated with Brahman initiation. You can't do that. Oh, you can't do that.
Let's not shake the camera so much. Now, Prabhu, put the camera.
Huh?
Let's not shake the camera so much, or I'll turn off the video.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to put it in the.
Yes, that's why I turned off the video. We don't want to shake. If people watch, if it shakes, then it's not really attractive.
No, that's not good at all. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Okay, you can. Not yet. Okay,
You're ready to start the video? You can start the video and then talk if you like.
go ahead.
Okay, there you go. Okay,
I
you can
don't know,
start.
what do I have to do?
Okay, there you go. You're on. Don't press anything else. Okay, now
Okay.
speak. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I said everything I should say, I think.
Okay,
We'll go on to the next passage.
let's see here. What else I was gonna say? Rupert, do you like to comment, Prabhu, to the Prabhu's question and our reading here, Prabhu?
Well, he's basically asking about initiation and if there's any other indication from Srila Prabhupada as to what he would like to do. It seems by sheer example of all the gurus that were originally instated, all of them falling down, that there were no qualified people to take Srila Prabhupada's place. So the best way to move forward is to keep him in the center and have him be the spiritual master of all the members of ISKCON, not just some, or not just the first generation, but everybody.
Jai, yes.
Yes, and with may I say, and with Srila Prabhupada being the Acharya of ISKCON, when you have the initiation, taking initiation from Prabhupada as the Acharya of ISKCON, then when it comes time for the next level to be Brahmin, that's when you can cook in the kitchen, that's when you can do pujari work, that's when you can do the death ceremony called Annaprasana, death ceremony called, what is it called? Rupa, what's the death ceremony called?
I don't know.
Shraddha ceremony.
Shraddha ceremony, yes. And the children, when they become 4 months old, 6 months old, Annaprasana ceremony, and weddings. So how else can you do it unless you have officiating acharyas active in the temple? And how can you have officiating acharyas if people can't be initiated to become initiating acharyas, officiating acharyas? You see, so that anybody in the temple who takes the first initiation from Srila Prabhupada, from the officiating acharya, becomes an ISKCON devotee. Then he can go next to become a Brahmin, and then he can also then become an officiating acharya. It's a simple process, and it will work seamlessly because there's nothing to get in the way. There's no egos to get in the way. It's just basically a pure, seamless process. Okay, go ahead.
Jai. I'm just trying to find a letter that was written to to Kirtananda that Srila Prabhupada described. We can open many centers and temples with the worship of the Acharya in the center. And he comments, the Ramakrishna mission has worked like this, and it has been very successful, you know? So I'm trying to find that letter right now. So
you basically just stated the letter, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is, the future. There are lots of distractions which have been created, which are stumbling blocks on the path of devotion. Well, not really a path of devotion, but
well, all of these things have made confusions.
Yes.
Once you take away the confusions, the system seems transparently simple, and Prabhupada appears to be transparently the guru.
Yes.
It's not as though it's very difficult to do. I mean, it's natural. The unnatural thing is saying, well, who's going to be next guru? Who's going to be the next guru? Who's going to be the next guru? That part is confusing and difficult because it implies that Prabhupada's not going to be the next guru. But when I say the elephant in the room, they're all looking for gurus the size of mice everywhere. But the elephant in the room is Srila Prabhupada. You are looking for a guru? Well, when all is said and done and when we've exhausted all other possibilities, how about Prabhupada as guru? And people, well, you need a living guru. He is living, still and sound. How can you say he's not alive? How can you say that he will live forever through his books? And you will utilize, Prabhupada said, I will live forever through my books, and you will utilize. At what point do we not say, okay, I accept? It's because everybody's trying to create another organization called the GBC, topmost ultimate ecclesiastical authority structure of a church-like thing to control. But supposing our control idea, we give it up and say, we want people to have a chance to surrender to Krishna and to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the streets. Why shouldn't we be able to do that without the GBC ponderously controlling everything and allowing the children to be molested and creating so many lawsuits and stuff like that? Seems more easy just to take Prabhupada as guru and chant Hare Krishna. What's the hard part?
Yeah, a lot of people are looking for some sort of group or club to get into, so this is one of that's why people ask this question, Ritvik, this group, that group, so I think
they want someone to talk to, like the way the first generation disciples got to talk to Prabhupada.
Yeah. Well, they can talk to the officiating acharyas who are listening to Prabhupada. And if we follow the notion that the temples will put on headsets and hear Prabhupada's lectures, hear Prabhupada's chanting, hear Prabhupada's kirtan, mridanga playing and everything, so that when you take off the headphones and it's time for kirtan, everyone will be just chanting like Prabhupada. Isn't that the same thing as hearing Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, people, people don't have that understanding, or they've been, I don't know why people don't understand that part. Maybe, I understand that part.
It's the elephant in the room. They're trying everything except Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And there's Prabhupada gigantically in the room. I like elephants, by the way. I don't mean that in a negative way whatsoever. Elephants are very noble creatures. And there is the elephant in the room, and they're looking around for mice to guide them.
Oh, you're saying, what did you say? The elephant is in the room and they're looking for mice to guide them?
To guide them, yeah. They're looking for mouse-sized gurus.
Mouse-sized gurus. Yeah.
So it's just a question of time before the hallucination begins to abate and people come to their senses, like coming out of a bad LSD trip or something of that sort, where they come into their sanity again,
Yeah. So this is the quote I was looking for, which I just found. This was a letter written from Srila Prabhupada, a letter dated 11th of February, 1967. Srila Prabhupada writes here, Srila Prabhupada, quote, I wish that each and every branch shall keep their separate identity and cooperate, keeping the Acharya in the center. On this principle, we can open any number of branches all over the world. The Ramakrishna mission works on this principle, and thus an organization they have done wonderfully. So just see, Prabhupada writing this letter. He's saying, I wish that each and every branch shall keep their separate identity and cooperate, keeping the Acharya in the center. On this principle, we can open any number of branches all over the world. The Ramakrishna mission works on this principle, and thus an organization
As an organization.
Oh, as an organization, they have done wonderfully. So
how is that possible to do? Because Prabhupada, even when he wrote that, cannot be present in each every one of those innumerable temples.
right.
They can only do it with Prabhupada's Vani. So he's suggesting that if you keep the spiritual master worshipped as spiritual master in an innumerable number of temples, the way they do with the Ramakrishna mission, then you will have a very great success.
Yeah.
It seems like a very, very simple formula. If you can get a big enough crowbar to pry the GBC off of the suffocating body of ISKCON.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But you can see, if you stop from that point of view and just say, here we have it, let's look at our innumerable temples of Prabhupada in the center, and then we look over and see the GBC, doesn't it sort of give you revulsion?
what do you mean? Can you give an example of that?
Well, then it makes you sick to see the GBC like something big and horrible.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
that is not helping spread Krishna consciousness, but is suffocating Krishna consciousness.
yeah, because there's various things that are going on which is not Prabhupada centered. Different.
The opposite. They're trying to make it themselves centered.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the problem, which first of all, they're unqualified to be. They're not Uttama Adhikaris, and they're bringing attention to themselves, distracting people from the real Acharya.
For decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chaitanya Swami and people like that, they're just
Gopal Krishna. Yeah.
wallowing. Yeah. Well, Gopal Krishna is just an officiating guy. He's practically a Ritvik by his nature, But others that are glorying, like Chaitanya, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So-
let's keep going.
So I hope this is satisfactory to the devotee who asked this question about the Ritvik initiation type, officiating Acharya initiations, which is
And if it's not satisfactory, we will reply again to his next row of questions.
yes. Oh,
Are we going to go further?
well, let's see. Any concluding words by the devotees here, Rupa? Any last?
Isn't there rather a lot more?
That's about it for the questions and your writing. So
Are you sure?
that's it. Yeah. Okay, let me check if there's anything more. 1 second here. Let me see.
I thought there was like several pages.
No, not several pages. Okay, yeah, there's something here, which I can, I guess, read about Tamal Krishna, which you wrote in the same context. Hold on. Okay. A lot of, because ISKCON is a big, the present ISKCON, which is largely based in India, is a big institution. People who come to the movement, they want some living person to guide them and hold their hand and babysit them. So, this can be also.
So did
Well-
the paper end? I hope that this helped. Or is that from a previous? That's a previous one, isn't it?
Previous what?
Oh,
Let's see, where's mine?
what's the date? What's the date on the what you sent me with his questions?
This was just, you replied today, so the date is 9/5/19. Okay, so here, we'll read this, and then this is the last peace that we're going to discuss. Well, I'll read it. If Rupa doesn't want to read, okay. Rupa, should I read or do you want to read?
Yes,
You can read.
let her read. I
Okay.
like it. It gives a very like collegiate feel.
Go ahead, Rupa. Read it.
Tamal was the original force behind poisoning Srila Prabhupada. From 1969, he told me in LA that Srila Prabhupada had so-called many stars. I want to be that moon. In 1974, Tamal and Sharma Sundar were expressing their frustration with Srila Prabhupada, and Tamal was raging that Srila Prabhupada was old and senile. This is a direct result of Srila Prabhupada not recognizing Tamal as his true successor. Tamal was a specific type of psychopath, the sort that completely immerses himself into the personality of the person that he is obsessed with becoming. This is a very measurable psychiatric disorder. Tamal became enraged and frustrated that Srila Prabhupada was somehow unable to recognize Tamal as his true successor. Hence Tamal's diagnosis that Srila Prabhupada was senile. Tamal also wrote a play called The Emperor and His Most Confidential Advisor, which elaborates on how the emperor exiles his most confidential advisor after getting false stories from the envious palace staff. In the end, the emperor welcomes back his confidential advisor and punishes those who spoke ill of him.
Interesting. What is this? Was this some kind of poem or some kind of play that was?
The play was, there were ISKCON players.
Okay.
You're too young, and they would travel all over ISKCON and put on plays. They were very much into it, and Tamal had them do that play in New York, and nobody could figure out what the hell it was for, or why he had them do that. But obviously, it was his way of trying to state, I am the good guy. I've been misunderstood by Prabhupada, but when he came to his senses, he took me back again. That's the basic story.
I mean, Prabhupada took everyone back, so why wouldn't he take Tamal back also?
Well, yeah, but the main point is I'm dealing with Tamal's psychosis.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making a point that, many people went away.
Of course, Prabhupada takes everybody back, but with Tamal's psychosis, he saw himself, I walked with him in 1969, and he was practically staggering, falling over. He always reached out to me, and he grabbed me by the arm and said, Narayan, Prabhupada says I have so many stars, and I want one moon. And he looked at me with his eyes just completely bored into his head and said, I want to be that moon. I am going to be that moon. So the whole time Tamal was with Srila Prabhupada, he kept on learning how to emulate the language, the speech, the thought patterns, everything that Prabhupada did, at least externally, he managed to memorize it all so that he could understand. And also, he really did begin to understand the way Prabhupada's mind worked. I was in Bombay one time when Prabhupada was very frustrated trying to get something across. And he said, bring me Tamal. He understands how I think. What did he mean by that? Is that he recognized that Tamal was a psychopath that had completely transformed his own mind to try to be like Prabhupada's mind. But he had succeeded to the degree that when Prabhupada made some sort of plan, it would usually have different layers to it, different reality layers to it. And Tamal understood those different reality layers because he had learned it and memorized it by memorizing Prabhupada. But that doesn't mean that he had become a pure devotee. Quite the opposite. When you see this type of psychopaths, there are different types of psychopaths in reality. One type of psychopath is the sort that pretends to be somebody,
Ah,
and he does a good job mimicking somebody.
right.
But the deeper psychopath is the person who truly believes that he is that person.
I see.
And he acts it out. And if you take him out of the context, he's that person. He has already absorbed himself into what he has learned about that person to the degree that he can consider, if he met that person, he would probably try to convince that person that he was the real one and the guy that was the real one wasn't. It's that intense of psychosis.
Interesting.
And that's what Tamal was doing. I mean, if Tamal never got to the point of considering that he was Prabhupada and Prabhupada wasn't Prabhupada, because Tamal didn't want to be Prabhupada. He wanted to be Prabhupada's successor. But he understood, he memorized Prabhupada's, he was very brilliant. I mean, Tamal had a fantastic mind. But he went and wanted to memorize how Prabhupada thought and felt, thinking, feeling, and willing. He wanted to be that. But he couldn't be. And when he had, erectile problems, he was in China, he had his male member disabled. That he couldn't have an erection. But in other words, he did everything to try to become equal to Prabhupada. And that's why he said Prabhupada is senile, because Prabhupada didn't understand who I am.
Okay, so now let's go to the comments here. We have some on our YouTube page. Calm is saying peace. Edwin Chandra, he's saying, so that's what ISKCON gurus are doing right now. ISKCON gurus are also officiating gurus on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. And then
He's saying, can we respond to that?
Sure, you can. You want to say something in that regard to his comment?
Yeah, well, he's saying ISKCON gurus. Can you repeat what he said?
He's saying ISKCON gurus are also officiating gurus on behalf of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, they're sort of in behalf of Srila Prabhupada. In other words, they are not acting as though Prabhupada is the guru.
Yes.
They are not establishing that Prabhupada is the initiating acharya and that they are the officiating acharya in behalf of Prabhupada. They are saying, I am initiating it as on my own. And that raises a big problem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you initiate on your own and you accept the karma of the disciple, or at least some of the karma of the disciple, if you initiate 100 disciples, you're busy choking on their karma. I've experienced that in Los Angeles. I've experienced that with Bhagavan. They took on the karma of their disciples quite wholeheartedly, believing they were doing the right thing. But unlike Srila Prabhupada, they were not able to let go of the karma and let it go into the transcendental realm and become dissolved. And that the person who gave their karma becomes essentially liberated by giving their karma to the spiritual master. Why would you give your karma to the spiritual master if your reward was not becoming liberated?
Yeah.
So they take on the karma and it gets stuck in them, They have no way to release it. So it's not quite the same thing as being an officiating acharya. The officiating acharya acts in behalf of Prabhupada and releases the karma to Prabhupada as an officiating acharya. He doesn't take it on and then suffer. Why do these gurus fall down?
Yeah.
I mean, just look at it with common sense. Look at it mechanically. It's very easy to understand why they fall down. They take on the karma of a guy that's been doing all sorts of sinful things, wants to become a devotee, wants their guru to transfer their karma burn up their karma so that they can go back to Godhead, so they become liberated souls in the process, as did anyone who took shelter of Srila Prabhupada by taking Diksha directly from him. And when they, and the Guru tries his best, we can't say the Guru is a bad guy. The Guru does his best. But when the Guru does his best, he takes on the karma and it gets stuck in the Guru. So much so that when the Guru dies, he dies with all those sins. It's like a man, when he gets married, takes, excuse me, the man, when he gets married, takes on the karma of his wife, and then his children come. Do his children come free from karma? No, generally speaking, not. The children come with karma. He takes it on. But because he's the father, he takes on the karma of the family, and by doing dharma, he relieves them of their karma. So in the same sense of taking on the karma of the disciple, you have to be able to let go of it. So what happens when the Guru dies? When the Guru dies, having taken on the karma of 300 people, say, a mere fraction of the 5,000 people Prabhupada took on the karma of, when they take on the 300 or so karmas of all the sex, all of the meat eating, all of the drinking of booze, all of that transferred to the Guru. And whoever is saying that the Guru is officiating acharya, yeah, he's an officiating acharya that takes on the karma of the disciple because he takes it on personally as the spiritual master, not as the Ritvik or what am I saying, officiating Guru. So when that Guru dies, he dies loaded with the karma of 300 people. Can you imagine if you, as a man, die and you have your wife and your children? That's simple stuff. When you die, you take on the karma, take that karma with you.
Yeah.
But hopefully you're so pious that you can rid that karma and dissolve that karma by your chanting of Hare Krishna as the father or paterfamilias of the family. So here's this guy stuck with all that karma, and he has no way to get rid of it. He's stuck with it. So it's like his car is driven into a mud hole and he can't get it to come out again. So he's sitting in his car full of mud. And then the disciple dies. Well, the disciple dies thinking, I'm going to go back to Godhead because my Guru took on my karma. But the Guru took on the karma and couldn't dissolve it. So what happens is when the disciple dies, he has to go to his Guru where his karma is. And that's true for all the 300 Gurus, disciples that he initiated. They all come and get stuck in the mud hole with their Guru, who has supposedly taken on their karma. He took on their karma, okay, but he didn't get rid of it. He's stuck in the mud with the karma. Now, can you imagine someone like Kirtanananda, who was molesting children, a pedophile, while he was a Guru, all sorts of things. Can you imagine where and I'm talking about a mud hole, where Kirtanananda is in a hellhole. He is not in a good place. And if you go to him, as you must, where will you go if you don't go to Kirtanananda? Back to Godhead? Are you kidding me? How can you go back to Godhead if the person who took on your karma was not able to transfer it out of his own consciousness, his own being? So you go to Kirtanananda and you see he's completely stuck with not hundreds, but thousands of disciples' karma. And all of the children he's molested, all the little boys and girls as to which he was a pedophile, and while he was a guru, and there you are, and you see him, do you realize something? There's only one thing you can do in that situation, and that is to take, he's already taken on your karma, to take on his karma and lead him out of there. Because if you don't do that, you'll have to stay there with him. The only way to get out of that hellhole is to bring him out. And of course, others have died also. You can get them to join you, please. Let's get Swamiji out of there so that we can become free. Otherwise, we have to stay there and experience the hellish experience that he is experiencing. Can you imagine? So what about Jaipataka? He's got like 35, 40, 50,000 disciples. Let's not even go there.
Yeah.
What about Bhavananda?
Yeah.
He's got so much karma. Will he be able to resolve it when he dies?
Not in this lifetime.
Not in this lifetime. What about when he leaves his body and is put into, of all places, samadhi?
Hopefully not.
What about Tamal Krishna in samadhi? Can you imagine that for a sinful man like Tamal Krishna, the worst imaginable place to be is in samadhi? If you took another birth, you'd have to suffer. In samadhi, you have to stay there and accept the torture that is coming to you from all of the people you should never have initiated in the first place. And you're taking on their karma. You took on their karma. Now you're in samadhi. You have no choice but to experience their karma until you're free. Of course, once again, supposing you're a real devotee, a Vaishnava, you can go to Tamal Krishna and you can say, Tamal, come on, come out of there, come out of that samadhi. Let's go, let's surrender to Krishna. You're trapped, you're punished. Do you want to stay there? Well, I don't want to stay there with you, and that's my only choice. I gave myself to you. Now that I'm dead, I have to be there with you. Do you get the point, Ramachandra?
Yes.
Do you see any flaw in that reasoning?
No, because, I've experienced, many of the things you have said, being a married person and with children, I've experienced that, the karmic debt that I, incur by getting married.
So what do you think will happen to that person? He either has to stay and go through hell with Tamal, or he can try to get Tamal out of his samadhi and come to surrender to Prabhupada.
Yeah. Well, and now I'd like to turn to Srimad Bhagavatam, where it talks about, in context like this, what you have been saying. So this can put it into context that the Bhagavatam also talks about these things in a very systematic and nice way.
I hope it's right on target.
Yeah. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, 13th chapter, verse 39. So we'll just read the translation and purport. The boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His father was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. Okay, so this is just a translation, and this is Srila Prabhupada's purport on explaining the whole karmic process. So,
excuse me, what you're really saying is this is like a person who takes birth again and realizes he must go to Kirtanananda or to Tamal Krishna and suffer there because of the past impious activity.
Yes.
And Tamal's past impious activity. Okay, go ahead.
So the Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the child's mother, Sunita, was the daughter of death personified. Generally, the daughter receives the qualifications of her father here, Generally, the daughter receives the qualifications of her father, and the son acquires those of the mother.
I
Okay?
didn't know.
So, according to the axiomatic truth that things equal to the same are equal to one another, the child born of King Agna became the follower of his maternal grandfather. According to the Smriti Shastra, a child generally follows the principles of his maternal uncle's house. Then he says, Naranam Matula Karma means that a child generally follows the qualities of his maternal family. If the maternal family is very corrupt or sinful, the child, even though born of a good father, becomes a victim of his maternal family.
Wow. I think you're right on target. Keep going.
According to Vedic civilization, therefore, before marriage takes place, an account is taken of both the boys' and girls' families. You know? You see here? According to the Vedic civilization, therefore, before the marriage takes place, an account is taken of both the boys' and girls' families. It's not just the boy and girl, they look at the family also. Prabhupada says here. If according to astrological calculation, the combination is perfect, then marriage takes place. Sometimes, however, there is a mistake and family life becomes frustrating. Then Prabhupada says in the last paragraph, it appears that King Agna did not get a very good wife in Sunita because she was the daughter of death personified. Sometimes the Lord arranges an unfortunate wife for the devotee so that gradually, due to family circumstances, the devotee becomes detached from his wife and home and makes progress in devotional life. It appears that by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Agna, although a pious devotee, got an unfortunate wife like Sunita and later on a bad child like Vena. But the result was that he got complete freedom from the entanglement of family life and left home to go back to Godhead. Just see, how.
So that's a delightfully optimistic version of what might have been going on to a disciple of Kirtananda. The problem is these are very elevated souls.
Yes. Yeah.
And they have a capacity of going back to Godhead in one lifetime. But what about tangled up malachas that thought they were going to go back to Godhead by taking initiation from Bhavananda or from Kirtanananda or from Tamal? They thought they were going to go back to Godhead as a result of that. So that sort of answers that question that the person had, or the statement that he had, that they're acting like
officiating acharyas.
But the actual fact is, in that context, there's nothing very good that can likely happen.
Yeah.
They're not going to reject the wife and go back to Godhead, put it that way.
Right. Okay. That was very interesting how Prabhupada is giving the commentary, on the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah. It's a very wonderful quote, and thank you for finding it.
Jai. Okay, so we have some more questions from our devotees. Brick Blocks asks the question, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams Prabhus and Matajis. I have a question. Could we call the ISKM officiating acharyas? I'm not really sure who these ISKM people are, so I cannot comment on them. Is it, what's his name there? What's his name?
Madhu Pandit?
No, it's not Madhu Pandit. It is someone else. It's Sundar Gopal, I think. Sundar Gopal, I think they do follow the officiating acharya system. But I'm not really sure. I don't deviate my mind to these other groups. I stick with Prabhupada,
Right.
and whenever we discuss.
If somebody is giving an initiation in behalf of Prabhupada, and in the end, the person who is initiated becomes a disciple of Prabhupada, then there's no harm done.
Right.
But if the person has got some sort of thing where they keep, like my objection to Yasoda Nandan and people like that, and what is the one that died in Hawaii? Again,
Kapindra Swami.
What? Kapindra. Kapindra becomes I gave him a ride to a meeting we had on Prabhupada's being poisoned in Florida. I had a car, I rented it, and he needed a ride, so I gave him a ride. I got to know him. But later on, it turns out he's there in Florida giving initiation, and he establishes himself as the guru of the people he initiates rhythmically.
I see.
So I said, wait a minute, haven't you missed the point?
Okay. Kam says, I'd like to know the Shastic evidence for Prabhupada being the only guru for 10,000 years. Without Prabhupada, there wouldn't be no Krishna consciousness, first of all, and you wouldn't be in this meeting, and I wouldn't be here. So that's...
He's writing that?
Yeah.
So he's agreeing with us?
Yes. No. He's saying, I would like to know the Shastic evidence for Prabhupada being the only guru for 10,000 years. He's asking a question.
Okay. Then we need to ask him, can you produce another guru who's equal to Prabhupada that will last for 10,000 years?
Yeah. Well, what is the answer?
Yeah, where is your Uttama Adhikari that will last for 10,000 years? And will he be 10,000 years old at the end of that? I mean, will you find a guru who will live for 10,000 years, a living guru living for 10,000 years? Or are you going to find a whole bunch of Uttama Adhikaris flooding from spiritual world when you don't need them, because Prabhupada can do the job being a living guru? He was in Srila who say Vaishnavas die, and Prabhupada is living still and sound. The only difficulty is he's the elephant in the room. He is the process. Everything is there in Prabhupada. If you're looking for a guru, don't look past the elephant in the room, but instead everyone's looking for the mice on the floor.
Yeah.
And elephants don't really like mice. So any more comments?
Oh, then Karm says that goes against Guru Parampara paradigm. What is the Guru Parampara paradigm? It's right here. Haven't you seen here? Therefore, a disciple should be careful to accept an Uttama Adhikari as a spiritual master. So where is that in ISKCON? Find it and show it to us. You know, he's saying that Prabhupada is not a Uttama Adhikari, and his books, conversations, letters cannot last more than 10,000 years. He's saying that goes against the...
He's saying that Prabhupada is not an Uttama Adhikari and his books will not last for 10,000 years?
That's what he's saying here. From his comment, I can judge. He's saying, I'd like to know Shastric evidence for Prabhupada being the only guru for 10,000 years.
He says,
yeah,
my books will last forever and you will utilize.
Yeah. And he says that goes against Guru Parampara paradigm. So these people are just devotees are, have misunderstood that any lay person can become a guru and then... Okay,
so the question is, if it goes against Guru Parampara, who do you have as a guru who will take you back to Godhead? Are you going to take some guy that was a drug addict 10 years ago, and now he's an ISKCON guru, and he's going to take you back to Godhead? How is that going to work? I mean, wouldn't you rather trust Prabhupada to take you back to Godhead in his sound? He is living still and sound. Is your guru going to be living still and sound? Or when he croaks, will he croak?
Now you can see that these gurus who have passed away, you can say Tamal Krishna, Bhakti Charu, and these other personalities who have passed away, devotees who have passed away, no one really talks about them. It's finished. They're era.
Certainly no one is trying to say that they are going to be the guru for 10,000 years.
Yeah, no one is saying that. Nor have they contributed to the Vaishnava literature, like Srila Prabhupada has. So they have been forgotten. So I'm not sure why they're so much, concerned about others besides Srila Prabhupada. Anyone else?
I'm deeply concerned with this person and his point of view. How
Yeah,
does he substantiate his point of view, considering that there aren't any other Uttamadakaris around?
yeah.
Or does he consider an Uttamadakari to be somebody who chants 16 rounds a day?
Yeah. Okay, let's go further. We have more questions and comments from our devotees.
Oh, really? Well,
Yes.
that's nice. What we don't have? Do we have Mohit on tonight?
No.
My goodness, we don't
Brick
have.
Blocks is saying that Chaitanya predicted Prabhupada appearing as his general, spreading the holy name all over the world.
Excuse me, read that again.
The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted Prabhupada appearing as his general, spreading the holy name all over the world.
Well, that's a nice idea. And
Right.
our job is to make sure that continues.
Right. And
But
then,
for that to continue, Prabhupada has to be established in the center of every, I say ISKCON, you could buy another building and call it HISKCON or ZISKCON if you wanted.
yeah,
But why not? Prabhupada created ISKCON, GBC stole ISKCON, let's get ISKCON back and have Prabhupada in the center.
right. And then he says,
Rupa, are you still there?
yeah, she's there.
Oh.
Then he says, not even the Goswamis had the power to be guru for 10,000 years. Parampara has to be maintained. Even the Goswamis, not even the Goswamis had the power to be guru for 10,000 years. Parampara has to be maintained. This
Okay.
is
Can you have Rupa do some of the reading too?
if she wants.
I would like her to.
It's
Okay.
not, Rupa, maybe you can repeat this part.
Okay, not even the Goswamis had the power to be guru for 10,000 years. Parampara has to be maintained.
Well, how do you know they could not be guru for 10,000 years? Actually, they are. We study them as though they're alive. We don't study them as though they're dead.
Yeah. So we're reading Rupa Goswami's book here. Therefore, a disciple should be careful to accept an Uttama Adhikari as a spiritual master. So how is that not association with, Rupa Goswami? Yeah. Here's Rupa Goswami speaking in this last verse. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The devotee should also know his own position and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. So this is, the appointed ISKCON guru is trying to take on the karma and replace Srila Prabhupada. He should know his own position and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhakti,
so
yes.
is he suggesting that the successor guru that he will say is on the same platform as Srila Prabhupada?
I don't know what these ISKCON people believe. They definitely don't believe Rupa Goswami, at least from my understanding. Here, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, there's Srila Rupa Goswami, then Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the next Acharya. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. And this has been going on through, Srila Prabhupada's books, conversations, videos. So, how is he not a Uttama Adhikari? Then Prabhupada says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttama Adhikari. A neophyte Vaishnava or a Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform, and it should be understood that they cannot advance very well toward the ultimate goal of life under his insufficient guidance. Isn't that clear enough for people
Yeah, so
to
it's interesting. I wish that he would send another
comment?
opinion,
Yeah.
another comment. We can answer it.
A neophyte Vaishnava or a Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform, and it should be understood that they cannot advance very well toward the ultimate goal of life under his insufficient guidance.
Exactly.
Therefore, a disciple should be very careful to accept an Uttama Adhikari as a spiritual master.
So is he suggesting that the ISKCON gurus are Uttama Adhikaris?
Yeah.
If
Let's
he
see.
is, how does he substantiate that?
Yeah, right. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions or comments. So we just answered his question here. Not even the Goswamis had the power to be guru for 10,000 years. Parampara has to be maintained. So we answered that question, that this is going on for 10,000 years, that Prabhupada's books are here and we're reading from his books.
Yeah, so what he is saying is exactly what we're saying, that the Goswamis were 500 years ago, and Prabhupada is 500 years later, but we are still, as you point out, we're still reading the Goswamis' books as though they were still living still in sound, right?
Yes.
And then we are reading Prabhupada as though he is still living still in sound.
Yes.
So what does he say? That the six Goswamis are incapable of sitting down on the ground and performing a fire yajna? Well, we already know that a fire yajna can be performed by any qualified Brahmin.
Yes.
And that's where Narayan Maharaj introduced the term Ritvik, because he was the initiator of Srila Prabhupada as a Ritvik. He initiated Prabhupada as the Ritvik of Srila Prabhupada for Keshava Maharaj. And he had the audacity of saying that because sannyas is higher than regular diksha, that he was actually now more advanced than Srila Prabhupada, because he had taken sannyas 7 years earlier. Of course, he's completely missing the point that Prabhupada was initiated by the same person, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, as his spiritual master, as Narayan Maharaj's guru was initiated, so that there cannot be any equality. Narayan Maharaj was so deluded, this is unbelievable. I mean, how can he say that he is equal to Prabhupada? Prabhupada was 27 years older than Narayan Maharaj, and yet Narayan Maharaj said he was treated him, and he was like an equal. They would sit on the same level, and they would talk equally with each other. It's
okay,
amazing.
we got to read more comments here now.
Oh my God, he has more comments.
Yeah.
You want
So
can Rupa read a comment or two?
sure.
Her voice is very healing.
Come on, voice healer. Let's go.
Okay. Western Gaudiyas are trying to turn Vedic Dharma into Christianity and Islam.
Then here too, Prabhu.
There are no messiahs in this Dharma.
Then
That's an
here.
interesting comment, because they have said that the GBC is the ultimate ecclesiastical authority of ISKCON, and that is purely Catholic Church. It doesn't exist in the Vedic culture. Topmost ecclesiastical authority is a reference only to the Pope. So if they say that ISKCON should not be turned into Christianity, ISKCON has been turned into Christianity by the GBC. This is our objective, is to re-Vedicize the ISKCON after it has been turned into a church modeled after the Catholic Church. Where is this guy getting his marbles? Rupa, do you want to say anything, or Ramachandra, do you want to say anything on it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's said in the bylaws of the ISKCON Corporation that the GBC is the ultimate ecclesiastical authority, and they have the power to judge and demote and change Prabhupada's teachings according to their, a majority
Their
vote.
whims.
Their
Their
whims.
whims.
Yes, their whims.
Their
Exactly.
majority whims.
Yeah, the majority whims. And, this is the difficulty because they have
Yes,
sidelined Srila Prabhupada.
But let's relate that to what he wrote. He objected to something. I don't know what he's objecting to. If he's saying it's not Islam, it's not Christianity, well, what is it that they've turned it into Islam? They've turned it into Christianity. We're trying to bring it back to the pure Vaishnava line of Lord Chaitanya, who, interestingly enough, came and actually removed the legitimacy of Islam, Christianity, and what was left of the Vedic culture as well, and Hinduism. He removed all the authenticity from it and replaced it with the no hard and fast rules, meaning that any Muslim can chant, any Christian can chant. You don't have to be a Vaishnava to chant the holy name. Okay, so
Then-
what is he? Can you read what he said again so we get some idea what it
Oh,
is?
he's saying Western Gaudiyas are trying to turn Vedic Dharma into Christianity and Islam. There are no messiahs in this Dharma.
Well, what does he mean by a Messiah? Prabhupada?
I'm not sure. He'll have to comment on that, what he means by that.
If there's no Messiah, I don't get it.
He's probably
Lord
trying to say,
Lord Chaitanya is the Yuga avatar.
yeah,
Wouldn't you say that he was a Messiah? He's more than any Messiah that's ever been written about. in
right, yeah.
Christianity or
He
Islam.
doesn't fit the Messiah category.
Yeah, I think that he's scattered off a little bit
Yeah,
because Lord Chaitanya is a Messiah. So how can you say no Messiah? And it has nothing to do with Western anything, because the Western, Prabhupada went to the West and he convinced so many devotees to become Vaishnavas. And they did. And they still, many of them still are. So where is he coming from? That's what I really want to know. Maybe he can write another comment, yeah, to explain his strange comment that doesn't make sense. The Messiah is Lord Chaitanya, and the chanting of Hare Krishna is universal. So where is he coming from?
we have our god brother Janaspriya Prabhu on the program from Hawaii. Prabhu, welcome, Prabhu.
Jai Prabhu,
Janaspriya
welcome.
Prabhu, welcome. Thanks
Hare
for joining, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, Mahaprabhu.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Okay,
Hey,
what's
Moose.
next? Well, do we have a lot of comments left?
Yeah, we still have some comments left. We can go on a little bit,
Okay.
maybe another 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. It's nice when Rupa reads it because it's so, her voice is so healing. We're so aggressive, you know.
Rupa, your turn again,
And
Prabhu.
I welcome your aggression, but at the same time, other people may find it too aggressive.
Yes, I am. Go ahead, Rupa.
Edwin Chandra says, there is no argument on Prabhupada being the Acharya of ISKCON.
Okay.
Who wrote that?
Rob,
Who said
Edwin
that?
Chandra.
Huh?
Edwin Chandra said that.
Edwin and Chandra?
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. We have no argument.
Rob B says, only with Krishna can we have eternal life. Hare Krishna.
Very, very valid. Very, very intelligent. Very, very non-controversial. Meaning, who will disagree?
Aristophanes says, Hare Krishna. I'll go down to the Edwin Chandra comment.
Okay, yeah, sure. We'll go ahead.
So how will the disciple of Srila Prabhupada through an officiating guru know if Prabhupada has taken all the karma?
Has
Well-
taken all the karma. What does that mean?
Well, this is from initiation. When you take initiation, the initiating guru is supposed to take your karma.
Got it.
Okay. In the fire sacrifice begins by saying the hymn for the fire sacrifice begins abovitra, abovitra, bovitrova, whether purified or unpurified. The fire sacrifice burns up the karma that you have. So we're talking about the officiating acharya is performing a fire sacrifice just as Prabhupada used to. And in that fire sacrifice, abovitra, bovitrava, whether purified or unpurified, your karma is burned up in that process. Now you might say, so how does it work? Well, Srila Prabhupada at one point said, my body is ISKCON. He claimed that ISKCON was his body. So that if we act for ISKCON, it's not just a wall, a concrete wall or something like that. If we act for ISKCON, then we can understand that Prabhupada, ISKCON, who is Prabhupada, personally, ISKCON is Prabhupada personally. So unless he's completely blocked out, of course, but ISKCON as Prabhupada will accept your karma. And then Prabhupada will transfer it to Krishna Loka. Okay? We're understanding that Prabhupada and ISKCON are united. They're one and the same.
Jai. Okay, we have some more comments. Let's see.
Okay.
They can ask further questions if things are not clear. We'll get this thing going on. Let's see.
I'm pleased with so many comments.
Jai.
Haribol.
Haribol Mahaprabhu.
Where is it? Okay, here we go. Aristo, Rupa Manjari Prabhu. Here.
Aristophanes. He wrote the birds.
If His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was in fact poisoned, a forensic toxicology report could reveal the substance that caused his untimely death. Was this ever done post-mortem autopsy? If the GBC is criminally or civilly liable for any violation of law, including fiduciary, they can be held accountable.
Now, the interesting thing is they were all packed together in a little room with Prabhupada. So when you have a murder like that, it's pretty hard to prove it. But there was toxicology reports. Arsenic and cadmium were discovered. Cadmium and arsenic were discovered. There's no real reason to doubt it. And Aristo Prabhu, if you read a book called what's it called, Rupa, The Poisoning of Napoleon or The Murder of Napoleon?
I don't remember.
I think it's called The Poisoning of Napoleon. And it's written by, interestingly enough, the guy that did all of those, he created the weightlifting thing. What was he called? Oh my God, I forgot his name.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Huh?
Arnold?
No. This guy, he used to swim across the Hudson River with a boatload of orphans with the boat's rope in his mouth, and he would swim all the way across the river. That's what sort of thing. He was the originator of the. I can't remember his name.
Charles Atlas.
Huh?
Charles Atlas.
Charles Atlas.
It was not Charles Atlas. Weeder.
Okay.
Weeder. His name was Weeder.
Okay.
But Charles Atlas, definitely. You know, Charles Atlas, he got his start when he was a little kid, and some kid, bigger kid, hit sand in his face. And he said, that's never going to happen again. So he was a little skinny kid, and he worked out until he became a world champion weightlifter, bodybuilder. Yeah, Weeder, yes. I'm sorry. He started a whole series of gyms and stuff like that. So Weeder, if you can, Arista Prabhu, if you can find Weeder's book on the poisoning of Napoleon, you'll get a practically identical pattern to how Prabhupada was poisoned.
Okay, we have some more comments. Prabhu.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Okay, let's go for it.
Edwin Prabhu is asking a question. What happened to the legal case about poisoning of Srila Prabhupada? Was there a legal case of poisoning of Srila Prabhupada? I don't think there was any legal case.
There was a legal investigation, but since the GBC was funding it,
it was covered up, yeah.
It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what else is there. There's people asking us about certain people, about Sundar Gopal and other devotees. You know, we don't.
We're not here to gossip about people.
Yeah, we're not here to gossip about people, nor do we study their, everyday moves, what they do.
But if they make a point that person said, we can respond to the point without denigrating what was said.
So
I just put the link for the poisoning, the last video.
Okay.
And it's very interesting. I was just watching that before I tuned in for anybody who wants to see it afterwards.
Oh, okay. I'll send it to the devotees online on the chat. Okay. Jai. Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing. Jai. Let's see here. Okay, so we got about 20 minutes. So our devotees online on Facebook and YouTube, if you guys have any questions, please message me or join the WhatsApp group to get in contact with us.
Do you have some other messages?
No. Aristo said their names were Jack Lenning or Jack La Lane or Weedle.
Jack LaLanne?
Yeah. And
I think that was Weeder who was sort of predates Jack LaLanne.
Yeah.
Weider.
Yeah. Weider, yes. Aristo Prabhu said yes, Weeder. Okay. Let's see what else.
If you look up the book Poisoning of Napoleon, the name of the author will pop up as well. And if you get an older version, it has appendices that describe very successful arsenic poisonings that were done. One to give an example, one woman brought her husband that she loved so deeply and was completely falling all over him and terrified of his impending death, brought him to the hospital where they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And everything was tried. And when he got into the hospital, he actually got worse. And the thing is, there's one thing that he wanted from her that was his favorite dish, was her apple pies. So she would bring him apple pies, and every time he ate the apple pies, he would get worse. So finally, they analyzed the apple pie and found out it was completely laced with arsenic.
Oh,
That she had been murdering him, her husband, that she seemed to love so much. She was murdering him and had murdered several husbands before.
wow.
So arsenic is a pretty clever drug to use because it's very hard to detect arsenic poisoning. Now, when Nityananda wrote the book, Someone Has Poisoned Me, he actually used Tamal's diary as the basis for the poisoning, because Tamal's diary revealed how the poison was administered by Prabhupada's behavior level going up and down. Because a poisoner doesn't just poison a person. What the poisoner does is give some poison, and everybody laments, oh no, they're getting sick again. And it's just like he's got a instrument music, a synthesizer or something, and he backs away on the poisoning. Oh, he's getting better. How wonderful. Oh, we're so happy now. Then boing, oh my God, he gets dramatically worse. So he's there like playing on a synthesizer, poisoning and not poisoning, and actually making quite a dramatic event through arsenic. I don't know much about chromium, but I do know that he was arsenically poisoned because the way to finish somebody off with arsenic is with mercury. It causes their entire entrails to go into convulsions, and their vomit and their stool becomes black.
We have a comment by our friend Edwin. He's saying,
Okay.
it is amazing disciples of Srila Prabhupada glorify Prabhupada, but never mention or get bothered about Prabhupada being poisoned. You heard that?
Well, it's very difficult for most disciples to admit their spiritual master was poisoned. Everyone would like to think he lived a nice life and then passed away and went into samadhi. But if you want to know how horrible the poisoners were, when Prabhupada went into samadhi, Prabhupada had asked that all his disciples come to Vrindavan for his samadhi. They didn't have anybody come. The people that came to his samadhi were the poisoners. And they took him along, not in a palanquin, but in a dead body, sitting in a what do you call it? In one of those little things they use for carrying people around, cheap.
Palanquin.
Not even a palanquin. It was what do they call it when like what I used to carry Prabhupada up the stairs of Barshana.
You can say palanquin, no? Some type of carrying.
Yeah, it was a cheap thing. And they carried him through the streets, and Bhavananda was chanting, a few people were chanting. They probably didn't have more than 10 or 15 people going to the samadhi. And the Brijvasis were looking totally aghast. You can see it in the film, it's in the film. And then they took him, Prabhupada, they dropped into samadhi, put into samadhi, and they were holding him by one arm and two arms, and they dropped one arm, and he practically fell into the samadhi, which was composed not just of lime, salt, but salt mixed with lime. And lime is used when you want to dissolve or destroy the body of the person that is there. A real samadhi is only salt. But Narayan Maharaj arranged for the samadhi.
One thing I'd like to say is you mentioned that Prabhupada wanted all his disciples to be present, but these 11 or whoever they were in charge at that time, they did not send a message out to all the devotees that Prabhupada wants.
The message had been sent.
Oh, the message was sent.
But Satsvarup made the announcement that Prabhupada changed his mind.
Oh.
And the practical side of it was Prabhupada entered samadhi about the same time they're gearing up for the winter marathon, Christmas marathon.
You mean, yeah, money.
So Satsvarup said, no, Prabhupada wants everyone to stay for the Christmas marathon.
Yeah.
I had gotten ready to buy my ticket to go,
Oh, wow.
but then they said no. So I went back to designing paintings for the Prabhupada's Bhagavatam.
Okay, there's about 12 minutes left, 13 minutes left. So there's no more
Any more?
comments.
Yeah, let's go for the comments. And
No more
remember,
comments. No more
we could
comments.
go. No more comments.
No.
Okay. Did Arista want to make more comments?
I'm not sure Aristo is listening or not, but
He's on live, I think.
yeah, he is online.
And I offer my obeisances to Arista Prabhu right now, in case you're listening.
Try. That should rest the case about Ritviks or officiating acharyas.
Is there anything where we can fill out the last few, the last 12 minutes?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I'll share some quotes by Srila Prabhupada, very powerful quotes. We
Great.
can read. Okay, let's see. I can start where. Okay, we're gonna read here. Let me see.
Are you reading?
GBC dictatorship condemned. Srila Prabhupada writes. GBC dictatorship condemned. GBC members are simply to see that things are going on. Other centers have got president, secretary, etc., and they are managing separately. That is the formula. So, how is it that the GBC are final authority? They are simply to examine that things are going on nicely. That's all. Srila Prabhupada letter, July 9th, 1971.
Yeah, it's before they got too carried away.
Yeah, so Prabhupada is making a very clear cut statement that GBC members are simply to see things are going on. Other centers have got president, secretary, etc., and they are managing separately. That is the formula. So how is it that the GBC are final authority? They are simply to examine that things are going on nicely. That's all. You see, Prabhupada's letters are very simple and very, clear. So why are we gonna?
But you understand that Prabhupada is speaking with full knowledge that they rejected the DOM.
Yeah,
Direction of Management.
in 1970.
Because he's not mentioning that the GBC are elected.
Yeah,
He's just telling them not to mess and that the temples have their own management, which he wanted. He wanted each temple to be completely independent, not under the GBC.
right. Here, Srila Prabhupada says, quote, letter to Giriraj, 8/12/71. I'm reading this part here. People devotees can see. GBC does not mean to control a center. GBC means to see the activities of a center is going on nicely. I do not know why Tamal is exercising his absolute authority. That is not the business of GBC. The president, treasurer, and secretary are responsible for managing the center. GBC is to see that things are going on nicely, but not to exert absolute authority. That is not the power of the GBC. Tamal should not do like that. GBC man cannot impose anything on the man of a center without consulting all of the GBC members first. A GBC member cannot go beyond the jurisdiction of his power. Yeah.
That's way back in 1971.
Yeah. So this is Tamal's.
One
Wonderful.
year after the direction of management was rejected by the GBC.
Yeah.
And you can see clearly why the direction of management was rejected. Otherwise, how could Tamal exert absolute power if he's just an elected official?
Right, right.
Can you imagine the senator in the United States that's elected by the elected senator walking out in the middle of the Senate saying, I'm going to exercise my absolute power as senator?
No way, Jose.
Yeah, they could not do it. So that's what
Mahaprabhu likes rap music.
Yeah, what was that?
Who's this, Prabhu? Haribol, what happened?
Hey,
that-
Mohi, you're here at the very, very end.
that was Mahaprabhu's music.
Oh, Haribol, Mahaprabhu ki jai.
So let's read some more. We got about 8 minutes. GBC
Okay.
men should not dictate very much, simply supervise and see the standards are maintained. Huh? GBC men should not dictate very much, simply supervise and see that standards are maintained.
Yeah,
Very
and that's
simple.
after Prabhupada acknowledges that they destroyed it. But it's also down further down, there's good stuff also.
Yeah. GBC's actual function. The GBC should all be instructor gurus. I am initiated guru, and you should be instructor guru by teaching what I am teaching and doing what I am doing. This is not a title, but you must simply come to this platform. This I want. Right. Srila Prabhupada wanted his senior men to be ideal examples, of representing.
Remember, he's speaking into a broken system over which he has no personal control.
Right. In 1975, August 4th, 1975.
2 years before they murdered him.
Then Prabhupada,
Probably
GBC,
started poisoning him sometime in 76.
yeah. Then Prabhupada, GBC's ambition leads to fall down. And then it is now evident that some of our top men are very ambitious, and there have been so many fall downs. January 27, 1975. It is now evident that some of our top men are very ambitious, and there have been so many fall downs. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens if you don't elect the GBC. When you
Yeah.
elect the GBC from the temple presidents, their fall down is after 3 years. If they're not reelected, they go back and they're in charge of their temple.
Yeah.
That's their fall down, to be a temple president. But instead, these guys became megalomaniacs. Okay, let's just go for the next one. This is a great quote. Where did it come from?
This one is coming from a letter, December 14, 1970.
I mean, you have a whole page. Where did the page come from?
Oh, this is just some devotees managing a website, iskon-truth.com. This is propagating the direction of management and quotes and how Prabhupada wanted his society to be set up. And
Well, we should work closely with them, I think.
yeah, let's read some more before the time is up.
Yes.
But the difficulty is that our GBC men are falling victim to Maya. Today I trust this GBC, and tomorrow he will fall down. That is the difficulty. If the GBC men are so flickering, then what to speak of others? Unless this problem is solved, whatever we may resolve, it will not be very useful. Prabhupada is saying, but the difficulty is that our GBC men are falling victim to Maya. Today I trust this GBC, and tomorrow he will fall down.
Yeah, that's because he's absolute, is not elected, and is not a temple president.
Yeah.
If he's a temple president, he falls down, he goes back and runs his temple.
Yeah.
The big fall down of the GBC is not loss of massive power. The big fall down of the GBC is that he wasn't reelected, so he can go back and be temple president. In which case there's no fall down. Okay, let's keep going.
Then it's saying, Prabhupada says in a letter or a conversation, April 20th, 1977, our mission is to serve Bhakta Vishena and live with devotees. Not that you take the place of the guru. That is nonsense, very dangerous. Then everything will be spoiled. As soon as you become ambitious to take the place of Guru Naram Mathya, that is material disease. This is in 1977. Srila Prabhupada is saying this, April 20th, just 6 months.
He's already being poisoned.
Yeah.
kill guru, become guru.
Yeah.
At that time he wrote that. So let's keep going.
Then Prabhupada says, now, has the GBC become more than Guru Maharaj? As if simply, GBC is meant for looking after pounds and shillings, piece? What is this word?
Pence. That means
Pence.
pennies.
Oh, pennies.
Pound, shilling, pence is a British way of saying
Pennies. Money.
$5 bills, dollar coins, and pennies.
Okay. So Prabhupada writes, now the GBC become more than Guru Maharaj, as if simply GBC is meant for looking after pounds, shilling, and pennies. The GBC does not look after spiritual life. That is a defect. Okay, let's
So
continue.
all of this is fantastic weaponry for what we're doing.
Then Prabhupada says in a lecture, June 4th, 1974, therefore we have created these GBC, so they should be very responsible men. Otherwise, they will be punished. They will be punished to become a Shudra. Although Yamaraj is a GBC, but he made a little mistake. He was punished to become a Shudra. So those who are GBCs, they should be very, very careful, very, very careful to administer the business of ISKCON. Otherwise, they will be punished. As the post is very great, similarly, the punishment is also very great. June 4th, 1974. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, we're 1 minute away. So let me just check out the comments here and we'll continue our... okay. There's no more comments. Arishto Prabhu says, Jai. What is the intermediate needs of the League for 10K? Obeisances to all Prabhus. Okay. All right.
We don't have intermediate goals. Our goal is 10,000 years. And if it doesn't fit into, it's like if you have an airplane and you design it and you say, how far will this airplane go? It's scheduled to go to New York. Oh, is it? Okay. Have you designed it to go to New York? Well, not really. I think we can send it for 3 or 4 miles before it falls down. That's not a good airplane to go to New York in. So I'm considering that they don't have a plan for the next 10,000 years. And if you don't have a plan for the next 10,000 years, then what are you doing? I mean, it's sort of totally insanely irresponsible to do anything, gurus or initiations and all of that, and bona fide this and bona fide that, unless you have got a vision for 10,000 years.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock.
And I think a vision for 10, good. I've considered the vision for 10,000 years is Prabhupada in the center. He's the only Uttama Adhikari I have ever met. Maybe you've met a dozen or so, but I have never met anyone other than Prabhupada as an Uttama Adhikari. Therefore, I consider that unless another Uttama Adhikari shows up from Krishna Loka the way Prabhupada did, as the transparent via medium for Krishna, that Prabhupada is still the via media. He reasons ill who say Vaishnavas die, when thou art living still and sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and living spread the holy life around. So that's what we're doing. Up. Okay, is there?
That's it, Prabhus. Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be on Sunday at 8 p.m. Anyone who'd like to send in questions, please do. Our WhatsApp group or personal message. Yes.
Prabhu, let Mataji leave. I want to talk.
Okay. You want to talk offline or online?
Whatever, Prabhu. I just want that letter which you were studying right away. That is like after the poison. Prabhupada wrote that letter.
Which letter? Which letter?
Letter which you were reading, right?
We're not reading letters. We're reading conversations, lectures, and
Well,
stuff
they
like
were
GBC
letters.
The latest,
They are letters, just but they're excerpts from the letters.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
some of them are letters, yes.
the
You're right,
latest
Prabhu.
GBC one which you read, Prabhu. When was that written?
Okay, let's go back there. This was written,
Just send me, Prabhu. Just
yeah, June 4th, 1974, Srila Prabhupada lecture.
Okay.
so indirectly, Prabhupada knew that whatever was happening was going to happen, and he was warning these guys, right?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Jai.
You can see it here. You see it? Maybe you can read it.
Yeah. So I was driving, that's why.
Oh, no
So
problem.
you
Haribo.
see, ISKCON was composed of kids from the street,
Kids
and the
from the street.
GBC are like tough guys from the street. And they say, Prabhupada is not going to beat us up. He just stands there and lets us do as we please. So let's make a street tough sort of organization
Yeah.
without any consideration for their own spiritual events for their life.
Try. Janaspriya Prabhu, do you want to say anything, Prabhu? You've been very quiet. Do you want to raise any points?
Indirectly,
I'm
Prabhupada
good,
al-
thank you.
You're good? Okay.
So indirectly, Prabhupada always
Can
wanted
you
us-
share that link for the poison and documentary? It's very complete, anybody that is interested.
What does he want to know?
The link,
Couldn't
I put
understand
the
what he
link
is.
for the poison and on the chat, if anybody wants to see that.
Poison?
The whole poison and Nityananda exposes the whole thing. It's a long, it's like
A
an
long
hour
list.
long. Yeah,
Read his book. It's called Someone Has Poisoned Me.
yeah.
It was taken after Tamal's diary.
Okay, so let's just finish it up. Mohit Prabhu, you wanted to say something, Prabhu? Any last concluding words? Then we'll go offline.
You know, we can go offline. I just the readings which Prabhu wanted, right?
Acha.
Let's read that. Yeah, then we can leave. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhus, thank you very much to all our devotees watching online, Facebook,
Hare
YouTube.
Krishna.
Hi.
Whoa.
My obeisances,
Haribo, Jai.
my obeisances to each and every one of you.
Hare Krishna.
Hari,
Jai.
Hari, Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Srila
Krishna,
Prabhupada
Hare
ki
Hare.
Jai.
Hare
Jai.
Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.